The hurdles races are among the most dramatic events in the entire athletics program, with athletes combining blazing speed and brilliant technique to efficiently negotiate the barriers. The best exponents make the hurdles into an artistic craft, but operating at such high speed means the potential for hazard is never far away. Speed and control must be expertly attuned to avoid calamity and race with the rhythmic grace that makes hurdling so easy on the eye. So let's take a moment now to look back at some legendary performers in men's hurdles races from IAAF World Championships. Number 5. Clement. Clement first came to global prominence by winning gold in the 400-meter hurdles at the 2004 World Junior Championships in Grosseto. Clement would go on to fulfill his immense potential and stand atop a World Championship podium again in the senior ranks, not once, but twice. Clement's first world title came in Osaka 2007. After winning his semi-final, Clement started the gold medal race in lane 4 and kept his composure as Marek Plavgo and James Carter started very quickly to take the early lead. Clement responded to take over at the 4th hurdle and proceeded to pull away down the back straight and around the final bend to have a 4-meter advantage by the 8th barrier. But Clement's rhythm betrayed him in the home straight, chopping and stuttering noticeably to run an awkward 17 strides between barriers for the last 2 hurdles. This allowed the defending champion Felix Sanchez to close the gap, but Clement's strength and speed came to the fore on the run-in and he crossed the line comfortably in first place to claim World Championship gold. Despite his erratic stride pattern, Clement's winning time was a world-leading 47.61 seconds. The World Championship final in Berlin 2009 featured all of the champions from that decade, as Clement, Sanchez and Colin Jackson lined up in lanes 3, 4 and 5 respectively. Clement started quickly, as did Jackson, while Sanchez was impeded after hitting the first hurdle heavily. The displaced barrier actually fell into Clement's lane, but the defending champion wasn't obstructed and Clement stormed down the back straight to lead by the 4th barrier and had closed the stagger on Jackson by hurdle number 5. Jackson, Javier Coulson and Jehu Gordon fighting back fiercely behind him in the home straight, Clement never relinquished the lead and powered to victory in a world-leading 47.91 seconds. In stark contrast to his world title win in Osaka, Clement's stride pattern remained rock solid throughout. He was the only man in the entire race to run 13 strides between every hurdle. By successfully retaining his crown, Clement joined hurdling titans Ed Moses and Felix Sanchez as the only 2-time winners of World Championship gold in the 400 meters. Number 4. Colin Jackson. Colin Jackson's accomplishments mark him out as one of the most successful hurdlers of his era. After winning gold at the inaugural IAAF World Junior Championships in Athens 1986, Jackson made a seamless transition to the senior ranks when he bagged a brilliant bronze at the World Championships in Rome the following year. He remained among the top exponents over the high hurdles for over a decade. Jackson's ascendancy continued when he claimed silver on his Olympic debut in Seoul 1988, but his smooth rise was interrupted at the 1992 Olympics in Barcelona, when despite being the pre-race favourite for gold, Jackson trailed home in 7th place in the final after injuring his hip in the 2nd round. But Jackson demonstrated his characteristic tenacity to bounce back from that crushing disappointment, and the following year he was undefeated prior to the World Championships. Once in Stuttgart, Jackson extended his winning run to take both his heat and his semi-final before producing the performance of a lifetime in the gold medal race. Personifying his catchphrase of going on the B of the bang, Jackson was away quickest. He then produced a near-perfect race over the 10 flights of hurdles, focused, fluent and determined to take global gold. Jackson raced to victory in a new world record time of 12.91 seconds, 0.01 seconds inside Roger Kingdom's previous mark. He was named the IAAF Male Athlete of 1993, while his world record would stand for almost 13 years. After missing the 1995 championship through injury, Jackson raced to his quickest time in 3 years to take World Championship silver behind Alan Johnson in 1997, completing his set of World Championship medals. Then at the World Championships in Seville in 1999, Jackson produced a battling performance of true grit, dipping desperately and decisively at the line to take his second world title in a time of 13.04 seconds. 6 years after his first triumph in Stuttgart, Jackson became the first British athlete to regain a world title. Number 3. Felix Sanchez. After achieving All-American status at the University of Southern California, Felix Sanchez overcame an inauspicious start to his professional athletics career to become a double world and double Olympic champion in the 400-meter hurdles. Sanchez failed to progress beyond the heats at his first World Championships in 1999, and he was then eliminated at the semi-finals of his Olympic debut in Sydney the following year. But such seemingly chastening experiences were necessary growing pains on Sanchez's path to greatness. Between 2001 and 2004, Sanchez compiled a 48-race winning streak, including back-to-back world titles in 2001 and 2003. The men's 400-meter hurdles at the 2001 World Championships was notable because for the first time in the global final of this event, no American athlete featured on the start line. Sanchez was the fastest of the finalists on season's times, but still faced formidable opposition, including the defending champion Fabrizio Mori. Sanchez got away well, but it was the diminutive Dai Tamasu of Japan who made the strongest impression in the early stages. Sanchez remained composed and in contention throughout before Hadi Al-Somali made a strong move around the final bend. Coming into the home straight, it was Al-Somali from Tamasu, with Sanchez in third. But coming off the 9th hurdle, Sanchez produced an astonishing burst to take the lead by the final barrier. Mori shadowed him every step of the way, and the two engaged in an all-out sprint for the line to determine gold. Sanchez prevailed, stopping the clock in 47.49 seconds, the world-leading time. Disbelief appeared to be the overriding emotion as Sanchez secured the Dominican Republic's first ever medal at the IAAF World Championships. After such a close-run, hard-fought victory in 2001, Sanchez's title defense in 2003 was a far more straightforward affair. The reigning champion hadn't lost since before Edmonton and so was an overwhelming favorite to retain his crown. He immediately asserted his authority in the final and cruised to his second consecutive World Championship gold in dominant fashion. Felix stopped the clock in a new lifetime best of 47.25 seconds, the 10th quickest of all time. It was the 30th consecutive win for Sanchez, and his margin of victory was a mammoth 0.93 seconds. In addition to his brace of world titles and pair of Olympic gold medals, Sanchez made 7 consecutive World Championship finals between 2001 in Edmonton and 2013 in Moscow. He's only the third athlete to accomplish such a feat. Number 2. Alan Johnson. Alan Johnson is the most successful sprint hurdler in the history of the IAAF World Athletics Championships. During a glittering career, Johnson amassed 4 world titles from 1995 to 2003. He also won the 1996 Olympic title in championship record time, 3 world indoor titles, and at the time of his retirement in 2010, Johnson had dipped under 13 seconds on 11 occasions, making him the most prolific sub-13-second hurdler in history. Johnson's first world outdoor title came in Gothenburg 1995, when he crossed the line in a lifetime best of 13 seconds flat to claim gold, consigning Great Britain's Tony Jarrett to his second successive silver. Johnson retained his crown in spectacular fashion in Athens 2 years later, when he lined up against world record holder Colin Jackson, the 1993 champion who missed Gothenburg 1995 due to injury. A fascinating showdown was forecast in the final, and it duly delivered. Johnson got away brilliantly and was a metre clear of Jackson at halfway. He held his form superbly to clock 12.93 seconds, his second fastest time and the 5th fastest time ever. Johnson was forced to withdraw from the 1999 World Championships after pulling his calf while warming up for the semi-final, but he returned to his customary place at the top of the World Championship medal rostrum at the 2001 World Championships in Edmonton. Johnson got a brilliant start, and despite clattering hurdles repeatedly during the race, the American remained fluid and focused enough to hold off the hard-charging Olympic champion Anir Garcia of Cuba, the pre-race favorite. Johnson stopped the clock in a world-leading time of 13.04 seconds to take his third world title. Johnson hurdled his way into the history books of the IAAF World Championships when he successfully retained his world title at the 2003 edition in Paris. Installed as the favourite, Johnson led his rivals to the first hurdle and never relinquished his advantage, crossing the line comfortably in first place to claim an unprecedented fourth world title in the high hurdles. Number 1. Ed Moses. At the inaugural IAAF World Athletics Championships in Helsinki 1983, Ed Moses was indisputably the best 400-meter hurdler in the world. But following the USA's boycott of the 1980 Olympics in Moscow, he wasn't the reigning Olympic champion, as he was unable to defend the Olympic title he'd won in Montreal. Furthermore, Moses had missed the entire 1982 season due to injury, during which time Germany's Harald Schmidt had topped the year's rankings. But normal service was resumed on the metronomic Moses Express as he amassed a 9-race winning streak prior to Helsinki and was the fastest in both the heats and the semi-finals. Despite this, the random lane draw placed Moses in lane 2, denting his ambitions of challenging his own world record. At the gun, Moses immediately stamped his authority on the race, closing the stagger on Amadou Diabar of Senegal in lane 3 just after the first hurdle. Using his raking 9-foot 9-inch stride and characteristic 13 stride between the hurdles, Moses continued to increase his lead as the race progressed. Coming into the home straight, Moses surged further ahead of the field, crossing the finish line in first place with a 10-meter margin of victory in 47.50 seconds, becoming the first Olympic champion to win a world title. Moses racked up his 81st consecutive win in the final to take gold, and did so with his left shoelace undone for the second half of the race. At the 1987 World Championships in Rome, Moses was the reigning Olympic champion, having won his second title in Los Angeles in 1984. But his monumental winning streak came to an end at 122 races earlier in the 1987 season, after 9 years, 9 months and 9 days, when Danny Harris defeated him in Madrid. Reigning World Championship silver medalist Harald Schmidt was also in superb form, with 2 sub-48-second clockings earlier in the season, and the 3 main protagonists occupied lane 3, 4 and 5 in the final. Moses got his characteristic fast start and led by 2 meters coming into the home straight. But rather than powering away as he had done for the best part of a decade, Moses tired visibly in the last 30 meters. Meanwhile, Harris and Schmidt were both finishing strongly. Off the final barrier, Moses' lead was diminishing with every stride as all 3 men charged for the tape and dipped together in a thrilling photo finish. Eventually, it was announced that Moses had successfully retained his crown by 2/100ths of a second over Harris and Schmidt, who claimed silver and bronze respectively in identical personal best times of 47.48 seconds. From the most dominant display in Helsinki to the narrowest margin of victory in Rome, Moses proved himself to be a champion capable of winning in all circumstances, underlining his credentials as one of the greatest athletes of all time. We hope you've enjoyed our look back at these top moments. What do you think? Let us know your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more great athletics content, and visit IAAF.org for the latest news, updates and information from the world of athletics.